Just getting ready to do the pandemic thing. Going to be another few days before I get the next video out, because I'm a little in the doghouse about internet security, as you probably noticed yesterday. But anyway, it is what it is. This is a disposable hat to keep your hair from dropping into patients' wounds. I like my hair. Anyway, I want to talk about change. shtf represents a massive, fundamental, emotional, intellectual, societal, economic, you name it, breach, change. And yet most preppers don't consider how change affects them and how they manage change. So one of the things I'm doing right now is I'm teaching a leadership and change agency course, and I thought, hey, why not? Let's share a bit of my course material with you guys and see how it goes. If you like this, let me know. If you don't like it, let me know. Yeah, just thought you might find it useful. So back in the early 20th century, the middle of the 20th century, a guy called Lewin came up with a theory of planned change. And what he basically did was he looked at how change occurs in organizations and in people, and came up with a detailed plan. Once he did that, people liked it. It made intuitive sense. A lot of people use it to this day, frankly, whether they know about it's from Lewin or not. And there's also a lot of other subsequent change management theories based upon Lewin. So I thought I'd just give you a little bit of an overview on that. So the first slide I'm going to put up actually is a subsequent theory, Bridges transition theory, and it is based upon Lewin. And what you'll see from this slide is that there are three phases. You end, lose, let go of now. You have a neutral zone where you're not stuck in the past but you haven't achieved the new change, and then you have the new beginning. And one of the things people talk about in change management is that change is constant. Every time you have a new beginning, you should also be looking at letting go and starting something else and fresh and improving it all. Yeah, that works well for most things, but in management, but I suggest you don't use that sort of approach in your personal lives. Hey, so Lewin came up with three stages of the transition. He said there was unfreezing, which is where the fixed habits of now gradually or very suddenly are ended. Then there's moving beyond that towards a new beginning, and then there's a refreezing of how you now do things in the future. So you'll see the slide on that, but that's kind of what he's on about. Alright. So this is what you need to be doing. Obviously shtf is an external or internal, because it could be health related. An external, usually an external change that comes without warning or with warning, comes quickly or slowly, it doesn't really matter. The change model is great because it works for everything. So if you have a situation and you don't like it and you want to change yourself or change the situation, you need to have a rationale for the change, and it gets really detailed. I'm not going to get into it in too much detail, but you need to find a definite rationale that you agree with, and anybody else affected by the change also agrees with. Leadership and change agency are together for that reason. If it's just you, that's easy. If it's other people, then you need to convince them or have them at least agree that the rationale to change is appropriate. I think one of the things for this would be if you were in a house and just say there was just two of you, you and your spouse, and shtf, whatever had happened, and you make a decision, you rationally look at it and think, you know what, this is it, we bug out now. Now online you notice the male preppers do that. The families just go, "Yes, Sergeant," and they all pile in the car, which they assume will work, and then they head off to the bug out location and have happy lives in the forest. In reality, what would happen is the wife or the father or the child or the uncle or the prepper group friend, they may not rationally see your reasons for changing as real. So that's going to cause problems. Now, the other major factor people don't take into consideration in prepping and life is that not changing when you feel you should change will actually cause quite minor levels of guilt and anxiety in everybody. Whether you think, don't change, we're staying in the house, you're still going to feel guilty about discounting the other person's point of view. And that person's going to also feel guilty about discounting your desire to stay. So unacknowledged emotional guilt can actually, in this situation, quite quickly spiral into anger and breach decision making, where you get angry and say, I'm done with you, I'm going, rather than making a planned change and figuring out, good. Now, when you rationally decide that change is appropriate and you decide to make the change, it will create a psychological sense of safety concerning the change. It's the actual decision to make change that frightens us in our lives. For example, Prepper Bob, when he decided to clean up his workspace, I'm fairly sure once he made the rational decision that, yes, I am doing this, he probably felt better psychologically. Alright, so then what do? You move into actual behaviour. So a change then occurs, so you are doing things to promote the change, to have the change, and providing information that makes the change occur to everybody around you. So you decide, yes, we are bugging out, and everybody rationally agrees, and we all decide to bug out. So then you have the physical moving for the change. So the moving is from this home in a transition phase to a new home. Now, a lot of people don't understand that change is not the actual moving. In this case, the bug out's a great example. It's not getting into the vehicle or walking to the bug out location and arriving that is the change. The change is the prequel to deciding to move, and the psychological feelings of safety and unsafety in that period. And then on arrival, you then have a period of time where you are not settled with the new reality. You have still got literally 1 foot back at home, psychologically and emotionally, and maybe intellectually, because you might be using toilet paper like you can buy some more and you can't. So until you actually accept the new change and then freeze the new normal, refreezing, you need to do what you do. So while the change is occurring, and after the arrival of the change, you still need to implement new changes to the change and actually figure out what you're doing. So, some more slides. So the slide after this one is going to show you what you do. If you're in a leadership position, you need to ensure that, it says employees, but anybody in your team, you have to ensure they're actually ready for the change. Now, asking people if they're ready for change isn't like, I think we should bug out today, or I figure we should bug out tomorrow. What do you guys think? That's not ensuring that they're actually ready for the change. What is ensuring they're ready for the change is listening to them, observing them, seeing how emotionally they are, asking them open-ended questions. For example, in an shtf you could say something like, we are getting low on water here and it hasn't rained for 4 or 5 weeks. Do you think perhaps if we went to the bug out location there'd be more water available? And then shutting up and listening to their response and seeing emotionally how they're processing this. And one of the things you do is give them keywords and give them clues and give them encouragement without violence, without emotional violence, to get them ready to make the change, if you're already ready to make the change. And this will unfreeze them literally from where they are and allow them to start the progression, to start the process of change, of transformation. So executing the change is actually the easiest bit. Deciding to execute the change is really hard. So you execute the change, you make sure that the whole focus is we're going from there to there. Now this could be financial, it could be how you eat food, exercise routines, any change at all. But I'm using shtf as a good example for this bugging out. When you arrive at the bug out location, your job as the leader is then to ensure that the change becomes permanent. So again, this is not saying to people, well, we're here now, what do you guys want to do? Because you understand that they may not know what to do, and what they want to do may be based upon the previous way of living. So you need to give them open-ended tasks to do and allow them to take their time emotionally to process the new change, and you need to reinforce the change. For example, if you have a teenage son or a teenage daughter, and one of the tasks that you give them today, and you should have daily tasks in shtf that's written so people get it, and with tasks assigned, right? And if you run out of tasks, you'd find something else to do, or help somebody. So one of the tasks might be to gather enough firewood. Now, if it's not life-threatening, if the boy or girl does not gather enough firewood, or does not gather suitable firewood, one of the things you do to help consolidate the change is not to replace their effort with your own efforts. It's to actually be cold that night, or to have a cold dinner that night because the firewood's insufficient or damp. And it's not a punishment. It's a, look, I get it, it's really difficult where we are. I understand that you really would rather be at home playing on the Xbox in an air-conditioned house, but that has changed. We are now here. We have to give up that comfort, that normality, and embrace the new normality. In the new normality, if you don't get the firewood, we don't have a fire. Do you want a fire? If you need help getting it, let me know. But you didn't ask for help, so I assumed you'd done it, and you haven't. No problem. I understand what you're going through. This is really difficult. But in the here and now, this is our new normal. This is our new life. And have discussions all the time about how people feel about the change, what they miss from the previous, and what they're looking forward to, or what they're frightened of in the new situation. So anyway, I hope this helped a little bit. If you do like this type of video, let me know. I got like wax and wax and wax and wax and wax of odd stuff that I could share. Au revoir.
I don't believe you.